Solid, bro.
Here we are again with another Silo podcast.
Back at it again.
With the Silo podcast.
Or the flashback for our listeners that have been listening since the beginning to somewhat intelligent dudes talking about stuff that might interest you.
Yeah, that really is a summary of this podcast. If you know nothing else, that is literally what it is about.
Yes.
Hey, good morning.
Good
Hope you're
morning.
having a solid week. If this is the start of your week on Mondays, then have a good week.
Yeah.
We keep saying, but it's no longer a 15-minute podcast, so
Yeah.
it probably won't last your entire commute, but here we are.
Maybe you could work out to our laughter and banter.
Oh, geez. I don't know if I would want people to do that. Is that weird?
I feel like I'm thinking about it more. I'm like, that's kind of uncomfortable.
I don't want my voice to be in your ears while you're like pumping iron over here. It's not.
Just imagine those Silo podcast people. And then like you have the people that are like super pumped, like Austin's talking, so they're like, and then like Gavin's talking like, man, now it's cool down mode.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely like parts of this podcast where it's like, okay, let's put it into slow-mo real quick. And take it easier. So we can work on that. But there's a lot that's happened since the last episode, huh? Since we've been doing these monthly now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time that passes between.
Yeah.
So there's actually stuff to talk about in our lives that happen between these things.
Yeah. It's been
to name a
crazy.
few, we're working on a website.
Yeah.
It's been super cool. I don't think we've ever teased that, but here we are.
No.
I did tease maybe our
The home
design
screen.
for it or
Yeah.
home screen for it like a while ago. But yeah, hi, we're doing a website.
We're doing it.
What's up, dog?
What's up, my guy? Back at it again with another website.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
And what else we got going on? We finished out our first two events.
Yeah.
This past weekend.
Yeah.
You'll see all these recap posts and all these other stuff from it.
Yeah.
But man, that's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
The spring capture or the winter capture that then got postponed because of snow now turned into spring capture. It's weird how like seasons change in 2 weeks. Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, because it went from like earlier in that week, it was like 70 degrees.
Yeah, it went from 70 to like 30.
Yeah, and snowing and ice. Like
Crazy.
that's crazy. Absolutely bonkers. But I think it ended up working out for the best, especially with
And it snowballs.
yeah, I think so
A
too.
little bit more time to roll.
More people were outside, like enjoying the weather rather than standing out in the
I agree.
freezing cold.
Yeah, we wanted it to happen so bad.
Yeah.
though.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
Like,
yeah.
we're like, oh, we'll wait until Friday at noon to see where the weather is, and then
Yeah.
we're like, oh no, you know what? For Saturday morning, and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, but it's still changing. Even like Saturday morning when it was like
Yeah.
coming down hard, and then it was like, oh, noon, and then it was like, oh, 2,
Yeah.
and we called it.
Yeah. And then, like you said, you were telling us at the one coffee with creatives, you were saying how like it like just stopped.
It just stopped. It stopped like at 5. I went outside, and it was clear. In
Yeah.
Lancaster. I was in Lancaster at the time. It was clear skies at 5.
It's crazy, man.
I don't know what's happening.
We can't predict it. Mother Nature, bro.
It's not a thing that we
But
can ever think about.
You know what else has changed? Which is kind of
What,
exciting.
Gavin?
And you probably, if people are looking, we're not going to do something like cool like we've done last episode where like Austin takes a sip.
I don't have anything in my mouth, guys. I really don't. There's nothing in this. But yeah, today's episode and for this season,
Drum roll, please.
we have a sponsor. So that's awesome. We have a sponsor. More on that later, but it is REFILLISM, a nice eco-friendly shop downtown York. More on that
yeah.
later, though.
Exactly.
So, Gavin, tell me more about like this whole like creative culture. I know we had a creative meeting, coffee with creatives this morning. There were some really good points brought up, and
Yeah.
why don't you elaborate on like a little bit about what we talked about?
Yeah. So, man, where to start? Because I think,
Yeah, we had a whole thing of notes right here.
yeah, it was crazy, man. So the topic that we ended up talking about for like the last 2 hours of our meetup was business versus creating. And especially in York, and then we'll make it more specific. I don't know where you may be listening from.
Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas. Who knows?
What insights do you have for Arkansas?
I don't know. Arkansas. The name itself is
why is it Arkansas?
Like come on, man. Like you can imagine the salsa brand that you can make. Like
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Dude, if no one's jumped on that already, we need to make that.
Bro, it would be so good.
Silos Arkansas.
Yeah, and you could
For
meld
all you
salsa.
culinary people.
You could meld the words together. Like it'd be really cool. But
hey, if you're listening to this and you don't have your own brand yet,
there you go. Arkansas.
I will hand it off to you personally.
There you go. We will take your headshots for you too. But yeah, so we were talking about it, and so I kind of want to give a little bit of the history. So Austin, Austin and I by no means are speaking on and by like the highest regard of intellect, because we've been, as Silo as a creative community, have been down here and in the nitty gritties for the past 2 or 3 years, but there's always somebody that will be smarter and more involved in the things that we talk about, and that's why we always say somewhat intelligent dudes.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got to call it back to the original name.
Yeah,
we don't take
any so if there's
here.
any insight that you guys have to offer as well, we love to hear about that stuff, because as a community we can only really learn by learning stuff that we don't know. But so business and creative realm of York. So there is, if you come into York, you basically you walk in or drive in, and you're faced with or bike in, jog in, whatever. You have to drive to get to the center of downtown York. And what we were talking about was the fact that there is this division. So basically there's a focal point of creating. Business members and business people of the business community have taken it to more of like monetize it, make it into their business, make a shops, etc. And then you have the creatives that have taken it in this, almost have the same construct, but just in a different direction. So everybody started creating. Like everybody's like, oh, we can create. So then there's the business-minded people who are like, I can actually make a decent amount of profit off of what I'm doing, and then they go in that direction. And then you got the creatives that are like, I could do that, and I'm gonna do some of that, but I'm doing it more for like my creative venture and freedom. And so here in York, we're faced with this local business and more of like, I guess, corporate business structures. Yeah. I don't know if there's a better word for that. And then you have the creative community that is basically the ones that are running around and downtown. And so what we were talking about was the fact that, like, okay, so as a creative, it's difficult to like get the structural side of a business, but then as a business, it's hard to like not be flat.
Yeah,
you're always flat.
Well, what I said in this meeting this morning, I was like, these business people, they're stale.
Yeah,
and I'll stand by that.
Yeah, but like the downfall of that is like they have the rigidity and the structure that they're working towards, whereas creatives may not. But the biggest dilemma that we face, I'm going to say this, the hot take, bring those back, but I think as York, the only way that York will ever flourish or ever become the things that we all talk about and imagine is if the divide between business and creatives come back to the center. Because the businesses are always talking about, okay, like both creatives and businesses of York have the same mindset. Like we want to make York better. Like that's, at the end of the day, we want to make York better. And I think it would be very difficult for you to say that you don't want to make York better if you live in York.
Right.
And so I think there's that same like, oh, we want to make York better. But then nobody, like, there's no connection. Like, people are like, oh, you're a creative. Like, you guys are just, eh. And then there's...
Clip that, Austin, in the future.
And then there's the businesses where you typically assume, like, suits and things like that. Yeah. And so because of that, there's automatically a divide. And the only way that York can really move forward in a direction is if there's a partnership and that focal point is brought back. So, an example, we even like there's tiers within businesses as well and creatives. Like this is a whole thing. Like our whole mission as Silo has always been to like eradicate these divisions.
Right.
Because what we've talked about in this Coffee with Creatives was like artists, you have like people just starting out and kind of doing it as a hobby, but then you have the people that are like doing it for years and get paid buco bucks for it.
Right.
But then it's the same structure with businesses. You got businesses like local, just starting out, or just online,
just barely making it by.
Yeah, like
paycheck to paycheck.
And then you got the people,
succeed, yeah,
they got the people that are like cranking in the money.
Mm-hmm.
So there's division between both, then there's division even within. And so the problem that we have is that we can talk about everything that we want to change, and do all these events to change it, but in all reality, you got to change it by bringing it back to the center. Re-educating, re-fostering some relationships, businesses working together, creatives working together, because that's really the only real way that things can flourish.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, like, I feel like, and see what your opinion is on this, but like, you don't, it's an exponential scale.
Yeah.
It's not often is it a grind that is a consistent thing.
Yeah.
If you're small, you're small.
Yeah.
And if you're big, you're big. And to get big, you take on 3 clients. And then, hey, next month I'm taking on 9 clients because those 3, referred you and stuff like that. So I do, there is moments where it is like that. I'm not saying it's a black and white situation, but I see a lot of it. It's like, well, once you're in the money, you're good.
Yeah.
And if you're out of the money, you're out.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you start doing well, hopefully the success continues.
Yeah.
So that's where like the divide is too. It's not like there's a middle creative.
No.
It's often like I'm broke or I'm doing well.
Yeah. And I think one of also the visions that comes because of it is because you see only one or the other. Like there's a lack of that middle ground, because I think
there's like the low that like complain that they're low. I was there. I'm not taking anyone down. And then there's the middle that are like in the middle of the grind and don't speak on it.
Yeah. And then you see
the ones that are like, I've mastered everything. I can teach a whole class on this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like for York, specifically, because it's something we're been in York for a while, and just seeing like a lot of the visions that many of the businesses have here, and a lot of the creatives have here, are very, very similar. And that arc and that story arc, like the businesses have experienced that tenfold.
Yeah.
But the artists and the creatives necessarily want that, but they don't know how. And then like the businesses, like the artists have like, they go off and freelance and do all these creative things, but the businesses forget that because they've been in the grind for so long.
Right.
And so like there's this like, oh, we want to do this, we want to do that. And then businesses have this divide. And it's not necessarily like this, like, I think divide I'm using maybe loosely. But division, the way that I'm using it is more or less there's a lack of communication. And so which results in this almost like, oh, it seems like York's kind of all over the place. Like you got this movement, you got this movement. They're all doing the same thing, but like there's no.
So why don't you guys like talking?
Yeah, which is huge, because I think what we've talked about before was like businesses and even creatives think as in a partnership you lose out on something, or that there's like this weird understanding about it. But in fact, like if we had businesses working together that are doing the same things, like one big event and then a couple small ones that they do themselves, like we'd be moving forward in a better direction, because we're becoming, it's not like a unification, it's more of like an equity. Like we're all working together to do very similar things, but there's not like this hoops and jumps that we have to jump over to kind of get over things. And then I think big vision is as we do these things more and more, and we have these communications and we meld these divisions and we work through these cataclysmic type things, like York will slowly become a better place. It's not going to happen overnight, because like we didn't happen overnight. Like you guys didn't happen overnight. Like you had to put in the work to do it. And I think through the process, you'll figure out, oh, okay, this person's not necessarily in it for the long haul. This person is. But I think for York,
how do you think we would measure success for that?
Dang. So that's I would talk more about that, but like, so success, I think.
What is success? Like, what is the perfect York?
Yeah.
If we're talking business and creatives.
So I think as creatives and as business, I think first off, the words that we use to describe one another almost needs to go away.
Okay.
Because I think we don't know how much words alone and categories that we define each other by can subconsciously divide us. So like, oh, they're business people, or oh, they're like the higher ups, or oh, this, like, I think, and there's, oh, they're just starting out, like, yes, that describes them, but it shouldn't define them. Because I think success in York is overall, like, imagine driving into York and you don't feel like nervous or scared like as soon as you hit York City.
Right.
Like the whole population of York City, not just downtown, but the entirety of York City is a beautiful place.
Yeah, talk about how you want things to come out from the center, but also in. Give us that lowdown.
So York City as a whole, there's a lot of political things involved, and it's underlying. It's not something that you necessarily will see right away. For example, permits. Man, to get a permit for something, you have to go through a lot of hoops, and a lot of times it's necessarily whether or not you're going to make York money.
We've talked to so many businesses
yeah,
that we've been in touch with, and it's just like, oh yeah, I have 2 parking spaces in the back. I just wanted 4 for like all my employees or something. And you know, this parking lot's never used, so why can't we just get 2 more spots or something? The parking spots are never used where my business is, or in the backside. And it's this huge deal. You know, what I think, you know, some of these parking lots have like jury parking or whatever it is, but it's never filled. Yeah,
because to be honest, we don't have these huge trials here, so there's not always this like big jury that needs parking. But like, it's just little things like that you're seeing, like people that live in apartments that could use free parking, because paying a parking meter to live at a house is a lot every month. But so like, what the biggest dilemma is, and what has been put on my heart a lot, is the fact that like there's even like York City is almost always defined as either downtown or like the scary other parts.
Right.
And so what really, like, York City, like downtown York, crazy, like innovative. There's a lot of things going on there, even underlining politically, that happen. And then there's like outside York City, and then there's like York College.
Yeah.
And what really needs to happen is that York College needs to stop putting their head in the ground and take it out, and then work towards York City. And then York City, downtown York, needs to stop being so political about everything, and money and parking and permits, and letting women more in leadership, and move forward towards this. Then there'll be the inside that everybody always talks about being so scary and needs this change will actually start to change, because there's so much taxing. There's crazy amounts of taxing involved. It's just these stuff that you just don't see on the surface, because it's so like rooted in so much, I'm going to say evil, but disgusting things. Yeah. That it's just, as people that love York so much, it's just like, it pains you.
It's like you want to see it doing well. You know, you've seen this arts resurgence a little bit. Yeah. In all the you know, art galleries and like little boutiques and stuff that show up now. And there's the revitalization of downtown that's starting to happen. But it just needs to continue. And that's the hard part.
Yeah, it is, especially because money is so much an issue. Because at the focal point of it all, it's the lack of equal opportunity that prohibits people from doing things, because there's not an equal opportunity. Like we were talking about it today, to like understand where the money and the grants are coming from, you have to know like a bunch of people. You have to know the right specific person to get that grant.
You know what's changing though is that all these new women that have started businesses down here, amen to that, first of all.
Hallelujah.
But they've been super open of like, hey, you know, like welcome to our block or whatever, and hey, like here's where you can go to get all these new grants that'll help you, you know, instill your business to look great, feel great. And, you know, it's those grants that help businesses feel at home and welcomed, but also it should be something like the community is safe enough to just bring that money anyway.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's grants are great, but it should be a temporary solution until it's doing so well that you wouldn't.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about grants. I could be wrong, but
no, I think you're 100% spot on, because like
those like it's something to get the economy going. Yeah. And then once that's good, like, you know, maybe less amount kind of deal until it gets to a point where like downtown is great. Yeah. And until it's great, they should keep going and maybe even ramp up the money that gets put into businesses.
Exactly.
Because you're going to see it returned tenfold in the next years.
And I think also it's finding businesses and creatives. I think there's just this underlying tone of like there's a willingness to make York better, and not just downtown but the outside suburbs and all the way up to York College, and to make it a safer place, because like there's the York City Police Departments right there. There's people starting to do like spring, like the block cleanup parties and things like that, but there needs to be a consistency with it. It doesn't need to be like a once and done thing,
right?
And then I think businesses, if they're and creatives are willing, able to offer opportunities that may or may not be paid, so that there can be a beginning, at least something, because we need at least something to start it, and there needs to be like education with it and how things are working and where things go. And I know that like you're probably thinking, oh, these are two dudes like getting really fired up about this, that they don't know anything. Well, teach us, like,
if you got something,
if you got something that you know, or you know connections that like, oh, this is what I was talking about the other day, like show us, because like Helen, older and wiser, if you don't know her, absolutely amazing, we were talking about it, and she's like, there's so many people that have all these connections and they're willing to show, but there seems like to be like this like facade of like, oh, they don't want to, but like, bro, show us, like, let's make
us the paperwork
better, like let's eliminate these aggressive, non-existent, and like taxes that mean nothing. Like, let's just start moving forward in a direction. Like, we have to go back to, I think the tree of York, if we want to make a metaphor of it. I think it's
a good metaphor.
Oh, bro, metaphors are amazing. But I think like the tree has been planted a long time ago. But that tree was planted in things. I mean, we could racism, political divide, gender inequality, just a list of awful things. And so ultimately, the branch that is starting to be like little sprouting, that we're starting to see more and more of, needs to like plop, cut off a seed, and then plant a new tree.
Yeah.
And then that tree is going to like fade away, and then this new like tree of life and goodness is going to start spreading out. People will be like, yo, you live in this bad side of York, let's make it better, let's do this. And like people like actually being a community, and not this like hierarchy of money and awfulness. And I say that I feel like I'm being a lot of a Debbie Downer right now, or like but I'm trying to bring like,
I love you, Debbie.
Trying to bring like the reality of what we're at and what actually needs to happen.
It's some heavy stuff, but like that's the hurdle that it takes to change things in a city. Like, it's not easy.
It's not, and it's gonna take a lot. Like, I think of Mudrow, blanking, the new police commissioner. Like, he's like not carrying a weapon. Like that stuff, like that's like that's like, whew, my heart. Like that, like people that are like, you know what, I'm going to make that risk and that step to try to change York and the culture. And we just need people that are like, and it might not be like these huge like peace walks and treaties and all those things. It could just simply be like the willingness to be open about it and talk about it and be like, why isn't this going back into York, or asking these questions? Because at the end of the day, we need to learn and we need to move forward. We actually need to like act on it.
You need to be open enough to listen.
Yeah.
And step 2 is open enough to work on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if like snapping fingers right there, because like we can talk about these things, but if you're the willingness and the openness to hear and understand what's like actually happening,
if you made it this far, hopefully you're like engaged enough to want to see change and work with us on that.
Because like we got some fireball creatives right now that we're seeing, and there's even businesses that are like, you know, let's change it up, like Chelsea at the Grotto.
Yeah.
Like
shout out
Chelsea. Then we got people on Prince Street, like we got people at Molly's, like Emmy Lean, like women that are like, you know, let's actually start shaking this up a little bit. And we're seeing
we
the
have
benefit.
so much fire. Like,
oh my gosh,
we've seen so much fire. We want to be a part of that fire.
Yeah, like,
and like these women are just doing insane stuff.
Yeah.
It's like so refreshing and cool.
Yeah.
And they're lifting each other up and being open about things, and it's what we're about too. It's like literally like open access to these things, and what you do with it is your own. Yeah. But being able to just say, hey, if I take a hit on business to help you out, it's worth it in the long run, because we're both going to succeed and be pushed forward. Because
creativity does not equal capitalism.
Yeah.
It equals creative freedom in order to move forward and grow together.
Yeah.
It's like we create not necessarily to control or to oversee, and we create because we love to create. And like businesses do business because they love to do their business.
Like, that's fun. That's like, a fun sentence right there.
I know, right? Isn't like
doing the business.
Doing the business. Oh gosh. But like it's true. Like we all want to do these same things, and it's just we have to start having conversations and opportunities and space for them to meet, and it to be not this like no, we gotta level the playing field here a little bit and have these conversations. And who knows, like you might find out that like the business that you've been like, man, they don't really do anything, they've been like doing insane stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah. Or
like creatives that they're not really that, like, and they're doing like, we gotta stop this jib jab and start doing the,
you tell them,
Kib Cab.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Can you do that again?
Kib Cab.
Yeah, okay, cool. Watch the video podcast if you haven't already. At the intersection of creatives and business too is also like the accountability, I would say, but also like, you know, time sensitivity, right?
Yeah.
We talk about business owners being a little bit more rigid.
Yeah.
You know, like they're always on time, or like, you know, 5 minutes early, or what, on time is late, or whatever it's called, whatever they say. And then you have creatives, which just hold on, we're going to do a little practice here. So think of the most creative person that you know, right? Are they a little scatterbrained? Are they a little different? Are they a little off from a normal person?
Yeah.
You know, we're all off in our own special ways. but you know, that one person that obsesses over painting, right? Like they might not always be on time for like your hangouts or whenever you get coffee with them or whatever. I think there's something special about that. You know, they're kind of on their own. You know, people say in their own world. I think they're on their own level. Like they're on their own like playing field of time and space and all this stuff. And like when you have clients, right? As an artist, you might have commissions if you're like a painter kind of person. Like if you're meeting with that person to like do a consultation to figure out like what they're looking for, you know, whether that's in person or on the phone. It's important that you're on time, right?
Yeah.
We can talk a lot about how your presence affects others and the process of like getting you're self-paid basically, and that like if you want to have clients that remember you, right? You want to have a generous presence, you want to have a personable like presence, so that you're able to, you know, be friendly with these people and for them to recommend you. And if you're late, like that's something that you have to be mindful of, right? Because we all know, and you know, this is a stereotype of like, oh, creatives are always late for things, they're on their own, like in their own world. And I agree with that, and I think that's cool. But where does that intersect within the business aspect of like, listen, man, if I'm having you paint a mural on my building, I want you there when I want you there. And that's what needs to happen. And as an artist, you might be like, whoa, let's take a step back. That is, you are expecting a lot of me. Why can't I just come and do this when I need to? And I just think that like miscommunication, that those two sides can clash a lot. Right? As an artist, you're like, give me a time frame when this needs to be done. I think we talked this morning. It's like a freelance kind of mindset. Like I can do this work whenever I want to, as long as it's done before the deadline. Right. You know, we work, you know, we have meetings with people at like 9 p.m. at night. It's like, it's not in the 9 to 5. Like 9 to 5 kind of frame that most people say is like the time to do business. And then you set aside time to do other things. Like we're just kind of like, yo, whenever you can meet, let's meet. We'll make it work, as long as like, you know, we don't have other things going on. But a lot of artists are probably in the freelance mindset of, let me just get this done when I like can. And I can have 17 projects happening at once, but I can work on them whenever I want to. Hit the deadline, make the revisions, and then deliver. I think that's so unique, and I love that, because for me, I'm not in a 9 to 5 mindset. I don't think I've ever have been, and I detest having to like keep that in mind whenever I have interactions, right? You know, I'm gonna message this person at 7:30 at night. Oh, they're out of work. Actually, until tomorrow maybe. Like that for me, just I think of, for me as an artist, if I'm in like art create mode, I'm like, all these people are my friends. I will text them, email them whenever I want to. You know, being respectful of them. But like I don't think the respectfulness comes in when it's later at night. Like if I would text a friend at night. So I would text, hey, you know, are we good for the shoot tomorrow? At like 8 or 9 p.m. I have, you know, that's professionalism versus putting your art first kind of deal. And that can be debated. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on like, are you in the same way of like, listen, all my like clients, all my people that I talk to are my friends? Like,
because I think like, so for me at least, I feel like I'm this like more of like an overseer when it comes to creative things. Like I'm starting to get into like my own realm of where I see myself creating and things like that. And my clientele is more or less not necessarily like your typical client. It's more of like, oh, let's work together, let's collaborate on this, because being a musician, you don't necessarily have clients. And it being like kind of, I would say like hippie kind of indie dude, like the stuff that I'm doing necessarily doesn't result in that, but like the people that I'm working with, that necessarily there's that like professionalism and things that are involved, especially if there's somebody that I don't know. Like right now I'm working with like a lot of my closest friends, and so our ideal moments and stuff, like we hang out till like 2 a.m. working on like a song or designing like a shirt or doing this and that, and that's because like we're working in it together. Whereas like if we'd be like doing film or like working like making a song for somebody, that kind of steps in. I think it's learning who you're working with, what their typical hours are, and then interceding on that. Because if you view every opportunity and every client with like the same like mindset, they're going to be a little bit different. Because I know personally, you and I have worked with and are working with people that are a little bit more, okay, let's just like meet at 9 p.m. because they're more of like family than anything, where we has other clients where it's like, no, it's more of like an email kind of thing. Like you email at this time and then that's about it. And then you got those that are more like, no, like, can you guys do this tomorrow? And we're like, oh, well, and then, so it's just like, there's different things that I think you have to work through and who you want to work with, if it's with each and every one, or if you're trying to more target to this person or that person. It's trying to figure out like what works well with you and being okay with the fact that not everybody is going to work well with you. Like you got to figure it out and adjust accordingly. Cause
your like scale of, oh, I'm an artist that can be late to, no, I'm on time and ready to go. And it matters. And
that might be like maybe setting your own alarm 2 hours instead of 1 hour, like overcompensating for those things because it's important. Then I know
that's
like
your reputation and trust of the person on the line.
Oh my gosh, like if you are always showing up late, then they may like, oh, that's okay, it's fine. But then when like later down the road, they might, when they recommend you to somebody, like just, hey, they show up late all the time. And then that person's like, I don't know if I want that. And so you lose out on that future because you may be late all the time. And then like if you're working with friends, like you still got to respect them as much as you would anybody else, but there's a little bit more of that looseness because you know that they're your friends. But still, it's like Austin's like, hey, that's me at this time. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, like I'll be like, yeah, I can make it, and then like 3 hours later be like, you ready for a call? Like that's not how it's gonna work. Like Austin's busy probably doing something else. Like 15 minutes, yeah, like as long as there's that communication.
If your professor is not there within 15 minutes to start of the class, you leave.
So like that's like the basis that I think that Austin and I have moved forward on. Is like if a business is 15 minutes late, well, we're gonna reschedule. Like you gotta watch it.
We can't be sitting there for 3 hours waiting for you. It's not efficient of our time. That's our time that we've dedicated to you. And then extended that to like hours if we kept waiting for 3 hours.
Time is more valuable than money.
Right. And so, you know, by hurting us by being late kind of deal, if we're talking about us and making a call with a client, it's just like you are costing us eventually time and then down the road equals money. Not that we're like super tight on a lot of things, not as us, but if it's a repeat thing, that's where you have to set your boundaries of like, listen, you have a history of doing this and either we need you to show up on time or we move unfortunately on. we can't do anything with you. And I know for a lot of us as freelance artists and stuff like that, like you need those things, but I promise you don't need them as much as you spending 4 hours over a month waiting for someone. I promise you would rather be painting during that time. And it just it's like, I know you want to hold on to those like small money gigs that'll add up over time, but I promise you, if you can land the big one once, you'll have so much more free time, and you know, you won't have to be like begging people to do these things for small money and them being like problematic clients kind of thing. That is a big thing with problematic clients.
That's something that I think we personally have been going through a lot with, like, so Silo, we do the free events, and then we also do our own stuff for businesses and things like that. And so it's just like, I think there's always like, oh, like we can do that. And then if it's more continuous, like you said, for us, it's like,
I think we have an extended grace period for people, or extended amount of patience than most people, I think. Or at least we try to be. And so that comes into play, and once we realize maybe someone's taking advantage of that extra grace that Joe Schmo before us wouldn't give them, that's where we have to cut.
And it's just like working that out, and like personally, like, okay, how much time can I give this person as a grace period, or of this time, because it's going to be different for everybody. Like for us, I know that we like different clients, different things. Like sometimes we work with people that are like a couple hours behind us or ahead of us.
Yeah.
Like we have to take that into consideration. So us being like, oh man, they're like this late. Well, it's like maybe 7 a.m. and it's like 10 a.m. here. And so it's just learning to be like, okay, we got to give them a little bit of that grace, because waking up at 7 a.m. and going right into a business meeting is not always the best part. But like also learning, okay, well, this has been like the 10th time. Well, it might be 3 times for you. It might just be once. Like that might be your thing. That's fine. It's just learning like, okay, as a creative and as a business person, this is my extent. This is where I'm at. And even just as human beings, like we got to have that respect for boundaries.
Something we've never talked about before on this podcast: boundaries.
Never
talked about him before. Don't know who she is. In
Bro, I don't know. Betty the boundary.
Yeah.
Barbara. No.
It is definitely Barbara.
Barbara the boundary. We love Barbara. Bro, if there's anybody named Barbara,
we're sorry, but at the same time, we're setting boundaries not to talk to you.
Yeah. Booyah. Sorry, Barbara. We are sponsored by REFILLISM. REFILLISM is a refill and zero waste shop in downtown York, PA, where you can refill a bottle you bring or fill a new bottle with eco-friendly household and beauty products. You can also shop for unique, earthly loving, reusable and zero waste everyday essentials. And you can shop REFILLISM online at refillism.com or in store at 38 South Beaver Street in York. And then she says, join the REFILLISM movement, reduce, reuse, refill, and rethink. Bro, that's straight up sick stuff right there.
I just was at her store yesterday, and this is going live before she opens.
Yeah.
So it's just insane. Like I'm serious when I walked in there, and she can vouch for this completely. I literally was in there. I was like, this is exactly what I expected, like a reusable place to be like. And we're just shaking hands over here.
Join the movement.
Audio listeners, like shake hands. This is the Earth. Watch this. This is the Earth shaking hands with humans.
Ready? Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Ready?
Yep. And then dap me up, dog. Dap me up, Earth. I mean, boom. Do you see that Earth thing? Oh yeah. She's so community focused.
Yeah.
It's unreal. I just can't wait for her to open, and it's opening on Earth Day.
Woo! That's why I said down to earth.
Pretty awesome. It'll also be Go Green in the city, downtown York,
which is super
so it'll
exciting.
be an exciting weekend of celebrating the Earth, celebrating what you can do to make, just not even this block, because they just had a block cleanup too as a part of her like opening, which is super cool.
Yeah,
it just shows you like she's about making downtown better, just like Emmeline is.
Who doesn't want to use nice eco-friendly toilet paper that says "Who gives a crap"?
Dude, I don't know about you, but let me just that's a part of the ad. And like literally, like you have this mitt here for doing dishes and everything. We also have like she has like these awesome like tubs of shampoo that will then be used to just refill. And all you pay for, one, either you bring in your own like cup or like container, right?
Yeah.
And you just pay by the ounce to get new stuff. So like you're saving on costs from the container you have to buy every time. That's not a thing there. Like you literally buy the container once, and then you'll never have to pay for that stuff again. And that's the coolest thing. It's all like essentials too. Yeah. Right? It's none of this like, oh, I want fancy shoes. Like it's all like, I, have this toothbrush that's made out of wood and like bamboo or whatever. And all these cool containers,
toothpaste pellets,
mason jars, toothpaste pellets. Yeah. All the things. So I want you to check out REFILLISM. Yeah. Personally want to invite you to the grand opening on the 22nd. You'll see us there. So if that's not an incentive, I don't know what is.
It's 12 to 7 p.m.
12 to 7 p.m. on the 22nd of April.
First 25 customers get a free eco gift and a net tote.
Dude, I'll show up just for the tote, not going to lie. I don't even know.
I'm going to show up for the customers, man.
I'll tote your goat.
Give them all hugs. Because they
hugs
love
from
the
Gavin.
earth.
Hugs from the earth.
Hugs from the earth, ready?
Which is better. Thank you again for REFILLISM for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you so much. We love you.
Much love.
Wait. Gavin, what is the next topic of our podcast today? What are you passionate about?
What am I passionate about? Oh man.
Circles or squares?
Ooh. I'm gonna have to go. Man, I don't even know if I like circles or squares. I like rhombuses, but they're technically squares.
I said circles or squares.
Dang, this is too scary. I'm gonna do with circles.
Okay.
How about you?
I dig that. I think I agree. For no reason at all. Next question: are there more wheels or doors in the world?
Oh man.
Have you ever heard this question?
No, I've not heard this question. This is actually really cool. Dang.
See, this is the kind of stuff that I've discussed with a few people.
I feel like there's more wheels.
Do you think there's more wheels?
I feel like there is more wheels because like
let's
cars.
Talk through it.
Like
cars, but what about like
but they have also doors.
Does that play into anything?
That's true. But like they have doors? Like skyscrapers? Like it depends on like
there's like
are we saying like multiple dimensional doors? Like ones that are like open, closed?
Are we talking about like multiverse of madness? Like multidimensional doors?
Like the ones that spin.
Yeah,
like that's like a 3D basically
yeah, but imagine
door.
like all the office doors in a skyscraper.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of.
But like imagine all the wheels that like on cars, pulleys, like elevators.
Mm-hmm. They also have doors.
That's true. But then there's like wheels and like sewing machines.
No, we're talking about like wheels.
Oh, we're talking about those wheels?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about like the little wheels that are like everywhere.
You can.
But then those are wheels.
That's like gears and stuff.
But that's a wheel.
No, that's different. Why would it be a different name?
It's different name. Okay, so it's just like, okay, there's a door, but then there's a sliding door.
Okay.
There is like a car door.
But that's a gear. You can't call that a wheel also.
I can't call it a wheel.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't. They're two different things.
They're based off the same
door
thing.
Has, what, is it an adjective that's in front of it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It qualifies it as a door automatically.
But what about a window?
That's a different question. That's not
That's the same thing, though. So a door opens to another place. A window opens you to the outside.
Yes, but I'm saying doors.
But I'm saying wheels.
I'm not saying definitions. I'm saying literal
But that's the same thing as
door.
wheels, though.
I'm saying doors.
Because the wheels are gears. Because they're forms of pulleys.
I agree. They're circular. But they are rigid. Like they have ridges.
Yeah, but like same with tire wheels.
That's tires.
They have ridges.
That's tires.
Yeah.
Wheels.
As long as it moves in a circular motion that makes the object travel.
What if gears are offset and it's like a lumped gear?
A lumped gear?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
I'm sorry.
I'm still sticking by the wheels.
I'm team wheels as well. Don't
because
worry.
I feel like doors.
I think for every door there's at least like 5 or 6 windows or 5 or 6 wheels.
Yeah, because I feel like you even think about it, like doors. If we want to go with the pulley thing and that, like within car doors, you have like the little knobby things in the center. Like that's round, circular, no ridges in that sucker, but it allows for the door.
So what I'm getting from this is that we need to define.
Yeah, we do. We gotta get fired up about wheels and doors.
I see.
Because that's what I was going. I was like, well, what do we define a wheel and a door as?
That should have been the first question.
Because like a door, on the basic definition of a door, is it opens you up to another thing or closes off to another thing.
What about those doors on like barns? You know, that open
like
on the second
doors?
story. No, they open on the second story and there's nothing in front of them.
That's technically a window in my interpretation.
Okay.
Because it doesn't open up to anything. Like a window.
What if it opens up to the outside world? Is that
That's
different?
true. Because then like that brings back to my previous definition, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like maybe in all reality, windows, doors, and wheels are all the same thing.
You just transcended. We're talking about multiverse of madness. This
is. This is what happens when you get into a creative's brain.
Seriously.
Because like Austin, you're thinking more like doors, wheels, like categorizing, and where I'm like just like, what? How would you even define that?
You're like wonky wheel, man.
Yeah, like technically pulleys are wheels. Like when they made pulleys, they're like, oh, let's put this wheel in there, and
Were
then
you
they're
there
like,
when they made pulleys?
no, but like history,
The first what is that called? The simple machines? Is
Yeah.
that what they called them?
like simple machines.
Yeah.
Like pulleys, like they're like, oh, we use this to like doors.
And Henry Ford was like,
Yeah, like doors. Like we lived in a world. Like even get in a whole other deep level of thing. Like
go for it.
a reason why, like maybe the reason why we're so individualistic and like separated from society is because we have doors. Not only just doors to our houses, but doors into our lives.
Mm-hmm. That turn into walls when you cement the opening closed.
Yeah, and you give up your wheels.
You do give up your wheels when you're inside.
Yeah.
That's the end of the podcast, everyone. Hope you had a good one. Keep it going. Keep it easy this day. And yeah,
hopefully we didn't make you question life too much at the end.
I know
of this
we
podcast.
got real dark in the beginning, and then we just got real hypothetical at the end. So here we are.
The joys of the Silo podcast.
Yeehaw! This is the roller coaster you've been on for months now, and you're not getting off.
Yep. Sorry, there's no doors to our roller coaster.
There's a lot of wheels, hopefully, or else we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, peace out. Love you, man. Take it easy. And women.